Rico Valdez pulled his welding mask up and wiped the sweat from his forehead with a dirty rag. The asteroid mining station was always too hot, and today felt worse than usual. His arms were covered in tattoos that told stories of lost friends and broken ships. Each black line and colored symbol meant something to him, but most people just saw a rough mechanic with too much ink. His partner Mike walked over carrying a data pad. "Rico, you need to see this. We got a hit on the long range." Scanner, something big floating about 6 hours out. Rico looked at the screen Mike held. The object was huge, maybe 3 times the size of their mining station. It did not match any ship design in the database. The metal looked old and beaten by space dust and radiation. "Could be worth something," Mike said. "No power readings, no life signs. Looks dead." Rico studied the image. Something about the ship made his oldest tattoos itch. The ones on his left arm that he got from an alien trader who died right after giving them to him. The old creature had pressed the tattoo gun into Rico's hand and whispered words in a language Rico did not understand. But somehow, looking at this ship, those words felt important. "We claim salvage rights?" Mike asked. "Yeah. Get the crew ready. We go out in 2 hours." Rico walked back to his workshop. The tattoos on his arms were really itching now. He looked at them in the mirror. The symbols looked almost like the patterns he could see on the mysterious ship's hull. That was impossible. He got these tattoos 15 years ago from a dying Kamari trader who said they were protection marks. 2 hours later, Rico and his small crew were in space heading toward the derelict ship. As they got closer, Rico could see it was even stranger than the scanner showed. The metal had a dark blue color that seemed to shift in the light. Strange symbols ran along the hull in long lines. Some parts of the ship looked melted and reformed like it had been through terrible battles. "This thing is ancient," said Beth, their pilot. "I mean really old. The metal composition is not matching anything in our database." Rico felt his tattoos getting warmer. "Take us to what looks like an airlock. We go in careful." They docked with the alien ship. Rico put on his spacesuit and grabbed his plasma torch. The airlock was 3 times bigger than human standard. Whatever built this ship was large. Rico started cutting through the outer door. As the plasma beam touched the metal, something incredible happened. Lines of blue light began to glow across the hull. They spread out from where Rico was cutting, making patterns that matched the tattoos on his arms exactly. "Rico, are you seeing this?" Mike's voice came through the radio. Rico stopped cutting and looked at his arm through the clear part of his suit. His tattoos were glowing too. The same blue light, the same patterns. After 15 years of being black ink under his skin, they were alive with light. "Boss, what is happening to you?" Beth asked from the ship. Rico looked at his reflection in his helmet screen. All of his tattoos were glowing now, even the new ones. Even the simple ones that were just names of dead friends. They were all connected by thin lines of light he had never seen before. The ship's hull was covered in glowing symbols now. They pulsed like a heartbeat. Rico put his hand on the metal where he had been cutting. The moment his gloved hand touched the surface, he heard something, not with his ears but in his mind. Voices. Hundreds of voices speaking in languages he should not understand. But he did understand them. They were saying the same thing over and over. "The Keeper has returned. The Keeper has returned." Rico pulled his hand back. The voices stopped, but the glowing continued. "Rico, talk to us. What is going on?" Mike sounded worried. "I don't know. But we need to get inside this thing. Something is calling to me." Rico went back to cutting. The plasma torch went through. The metal, like it was soft plastic now. The door fell inward with no sound in the vacuum of space. Blue light poured out of the opening. Rico stepped inside. The moment his boots touched the deck, gravity pulled him down. The ship had power. It had been waiting. The inside was even stranger than the outside. The corridors were wide and tall. Blue lights ran along the walls in the same patterns as Rico's tattoos. The air was breathable according to his suit readings. After thousands of years in space, this ship still had air. Rico took a few steps forward. His tattoos were so bright now they hurt to look at. Each step made them pulse stronger. Something was drawing him deeper into the ship. "Rico, we are losing your signal," Beth called through the radio. "The hull is blocking our communications." "I am okay. Give me 30 minutes. If I am not back, leave and get help." Rico walked down the main corridor. The blue lights followed his movement, turning on ahead of him and dimming behind him. This ship was responding to him. After who knows how long floating dead in space, it was waking up because he was here. At the end of the corridor was a massive door covered in symbols, but these symbols were different. They were not glowing. They were black, and they seemed to absorb light. Rico touched the door and immediately knew what it was. This was not a regular ship. This was a prison. The voices in his head started again, but now they were different voices, angry voices, hungry voices. They were not saying, "The Keeper has returned." They were saying, "Free us." Rico looked at his arms. His tattoos were not just glowing anymore. They were moving. The lines were shifting and changing, forming new patterns. Information was flowing into his mind. Not memories, but knowledge. Knowledge about who he was, why his tattoos existed, and what was behind that black door. He was not just a mechanic. He never had been just a mechanic. He was the last of something called the Keepers, and this ship had been waiting for him for a very long time. Behind that door were things that civilizations across the galaxy had decided were too dangerous to kill. So they locked them away and sent the prison ship into the void. But prison ships need guards, they need keepers, and Rico was the only keeper left. The black door was warm under Rico's glove. He could feel something moving behind it like water flowing over stones. His tattoos pulsed brighter each time he touched the metal. Whatever was on the other side knew he was there. Rico stepped back and tried to think clearly. His mind was filling with information he had never learned, words and languages that died before humans left Earth, technical knowledge about systems he had never seen. It was like having someone else's memories pushed into his brain. He walked away from the door and explored the rest of the ship. Each room he entered came alive with blue light. Most rooms were empty, but some had strange machines that started humming when he approached. In what looked like a control room, screens flickered to life showing star maps and symbols. One screen showed his own body, but it was not showing his skin. It was showing the network of lines under his tattoos. Lines he had never known were there. They connected every tattoo on his body into one giant circuit. The circuit was incomplete. There were gaps where more tattoos should be. Rico pulled off his spacesuit. The ship had clean air and normal temperature. His tattoos were still, glowing, casting blue light across the room. He looked at the screen again. According to the display, he was only 30% complete. There should be tattoos covering most of his body. A new voice spoke in his mind. This one was calmer than the others. "You are young, Keeper. The markings grow with knowledge and need." Rico looked around the empty control room. "Who is talking? To me?" "I am the ship's guardian system. I have waited long for a keeper to return." "What is a keeper?" Images flooded Rico's mind. He saw humans working alongside aliens he had never heard of. But these humans were different. They were covered in tattoos that glowed with power. They could do impossible things. They could touch machines and understand them instantly. They could look at a person and know if they were lying or controlled by something else. "Your people were created to guard against the devourers," the voice explained. "Beings of pure thought that consume minds and civilizations. Most were destroyed long ago, but the most powerful were imprisoned. Imprisoned here." "Yes. This ship holds 7 of the strongest devourers. 6 remain in their cells. One escaped long ago when the ship was damaged in battle." Rico felt cold despite the warm air. "One is loose?" "For over 800 years. It has been feeding and growing stronger. It influences leaders and starts wars. It prepares for the return of this ship so it can free its companions." Rico walked to a different screen that showed star charts. Red dots marked human colonies, green dots marked alien civilizations, and there was one pulsing orange dot near the center of the galaxy. Where is it now? The galactic capital. It has taken control of several key figures in the Alliance government. War is coming, a war between all the major species. When billions die in the fighting, the Devourer and its kind will feed on the mental energy released by all that death and fear. Rico stared at the screen. Humanity had just joined the Galactic Alliance 5 years ago. They were the youngest and weakest member. If war broke out between the major powers, humans would be crushed. Why me? Why am I the only keeper left? People forgot their purpose over generations. The genetic markers were passed down, but the knowledge was lost. Only a few bloodlines kept the tattoo traditions, not knowing what they really meant. You are the last with enough markers to interface with this ship. Rico touched one of his oldest tattoos, the one the dying Kamari had given him. Now he understood. The creature had not been a traitor. It had been a keeper of ancient knowledge, waiting to pass on the marking to someone who could carry it. What do I need to do? The choice is yours, Keeper. You can seal this ship permanently and hide from the Devourer. Your people will face the coming war without knowing the true enemy. Many will die, but some will survive. Rico looked at the screen showing the orange dot. Or you can complete the awakening. Take on the full markings of a keeper. Gain the power to fight Devourers directly. But the process is dangerous. Many candidates died during the marking process in the old days. And if I survive, you will be able to see through Devourer influence. You will be able to track the escaped one. You will have the power to wake the dormant genetic markers in other humans. Your people will remember what they were made for. Rico walked back toward the black door. The sounds behind it were louder now. Not quite voices, but something like singing. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. What are they singing about? Freedom. They know a keeper is here. They hope you will release them. Would I ever do that? The keepers of old sometimes did, when facing an even greater threat. Devourers can be reasoned with, bargained with. They are not pure evil, just very hungry. But the cure for that hunger has never been found. Rico put his hand on the door again. This time he left it there. The singing grew louder. He could almost understand the words. They were not threats or demands. They were lonely. These things had been alone in their cells for thousands of years. How long do I have to decide? The escaped Devourer knows this ship has awakened. It will send forces to destroy us within days. The decision must be made soon. Rico nodded and walked back to where he had left his spacesuit. He needed to get back to his crew and think. But as he reached for the suit, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed alongside the blue ones. What is that? Ships approaching. Military vessels flying Alliance flags. But the minds controlling them are not Alliance. Officers. Rico looked at a screen showing the outside view. 5 warships were surrounding his small mining station. He could see weapons powering up. It found us faster than expected, the Guardian system said. The escaped Devourer is not taking chances. Rico watched as his mining station tried to hail the warships. There was no response. The lead ship fired a warning shot across the station's bow. They want the ship, Rico said. They want to free the prisoners, or destroy them to prevent anyone else from using them. Rico saw his crew's small ship undocking from the alien vessel. Beth was bringing them back to help with whatever was happening, but their little ship had no weapons. If those warships decided to fight, everyone Rico cared about would die. Can this ship move? Yes, but it has no weapons. It was built as a prison, not a warship. Then we run? Running will only delay the inevitable. The Devourer knows you exist now. It will hunt you across the galaxy. Rico looked at his glowing tattoos one more time. Maybe he had been just a mechanic, but mechanics fix things, and something in the galaxy was very broken. Start the awakening process, he said. Make me a real keeper. The ship's lights pulsed brighter. Are you certain? The pain will be considerable, and failure means death. Rico watched the warships moving closer to his station. His friends were out there. His people were scattered across dozens of worlds, unaware of the danger coming for them. I have been fixing broken things my whole life, he said. Time to fix the biggest problem of all. Pain shot through Rico's entire body like lightning in his veins. He fell to his knees as new tattoos burned themselves into his skin. Not ink applied by needles, but patterns of light that became permanent markings. His arms, chest, and back erupted with new symbols that connected to his old ones. Through the agony, Rico could see the screens around him. The warships had opened fire on his mining station. The station's shields were holding for now but would not last long. His crew was flying their small ship in desperate evasive patterns, trying to reach him. Focus Keeper, the Guardian system, spoke in his mind. Let the knowledge flow through you, do not fight the process. Rico gritted his teeth as more tattoos appeared across his skin. Each new mark brought information. Technical specifications for alien technology. The biological weaknesses of dozens of species. The mental patterns that revealed devourer possession. Most importantly, the location of every human in the galaxy who carried dormant keeper genetics. There were more than he had imagined. Thousands of humans scattered across hundreds of worlds had the genetic markers. They just did not know it yet. They were the descendants of the original keepers, living normal lives as mechanics, soldiers, farmers, and traders. All of them had probably experienced strange moments of intuition or unexplained knowledge, but dismissed it as luck or natural talent. The pain reached its peak and then suddenly stopped. Rico stood up slowly, his body covered in glowing tattoos from neck to ankles. He looked at his hands and could see energy flowing through the patterns on his skin. He felt different, stronger, more aware. The process is complete, the Guardian system announced. You are now a full keeper. What are your orders? Rico looked at the screens. One of his station's shield generators had failed. Another hit like that and the mining station would be destroyed. His friends would die. Can you broadcast a signal to every human in the galaxy? Yes, but such a transmission will reveal our location to every government and military force within 1,000 light years. Do it. Send the awakening signal to everyone with keeper genetics. It is time for humanity to remember what we really are. Rico felt the ship's power systems surge. Energy flowed through his tattoos and into the ship's communication array. Pulse of information shot out in all directions, traveling faster than light through quantum communication networks. Across the galaxy, humans suddenly stopped what they were doing. A farmer on a colony world looked up from his crops as knowledge flooded his mind. A soldier in the Alliance military felt tattoos burning themselves into her skin as she remembered her true purpose. A ship captain in the merchant fleet suddenly understood the strange alien technology he had been using for years. On Rico's screens, thousands of dots began appearing. Each one represented a human who had just awakened to their keeper abilities. Most were confused and scared, but some understood immediately. They had been waiting their whole lives for this moment without knowing it. Incoming transmission, the Guardian system announced. Rico activated the communication system. The face of a middle-aged human woman appeared on the screen. She was wearing a military uniform, but her arms were now covered in glowing tattoos just like Rico's. This is Commander Lisa Martinez of the Alliance 4th Fleet, she said. I just received information about what I really am, about what we all are. How many ships do you command? Rico asked. 37 vessels, but half my senior staff are showing signs of devourer influence now that I know what to look for. I can see the mental patterns you taught me to recognize. They are not in control of their own minds anymore. More screens activated. Humans from across the galaxy were making contact. A mining supervisor with 200 workers. A planetary governor with her entire defense force. A trader captain with connections to smuggling networks. All of them newly awakened keepers. All of them seeing devourer influence in people around them for the first time. This is worse than we thought, one of them said. The influence goes deep into every major government and military organization. Rico nodded. The escaped devourer has had 800 years to spread its control. It has been preparing for this moment. On the tactical screen, the warships attacking Rico's station suddenly changed formation. They stopped firing and began powering down weapons. What is happening? Rico asked the Guardian system. The Devourer controlling those ships has realized what you have done. It is withdrawing its forces to consolidate power elsewhere. It knows the awakened keepers can identify possessed individuals. Rico activated his communication system again. All awakened keepers, this is Rico Valdez. I am broadcasting coordinates for rally points throughout human space. We need to gather our people and prepare for war. The Devourers will not wait for us to organize. Commander Martinez appeared on screen again. Valdez, I have bad news. The Alliance Council has called an emergency session. They are voting on whether to declare humanity a hostile species due to the unexplained genetic mutations appearing in our people. The Devourer is moving fast, Rico said. It wants the other species to attack humanity before we can organize. Another voice joined the conversation. This is Governor Parks on New Denver. My orbital defense platforms just detected a massive fleet jumping into our system. The ships are flying Zalari military flags, but the attack patterns are all wrong. No Zalari commander would approach a civilian colony this aggressively. Rico looked at the star map. The Zalari were normally peaceful traders. If they were attacking human colonies, it meant the Devourer had significant influence in their government too. All keepers with military assets, we need to protect our civilian populations first. Do not engage alien forces directly unless they attack first. We cannot afford to start a real war while we are fighting a hidden enemy. The next few hours passed in a blur of communications and coordination. Awakened keepers across the galaxy worked to evacuate human civilians from mixed-species stations and planets. Those with military training began organizing defense forces. Those with technical skills started analyzing alien technology for signs of Devourer influence. Rico remained on the prison ship, using it as a mobile command center. The ship's advanced systems could track Devourer influence across vast distances, allowing him to direct keeper forces to the most critical targets. But as the day progressed, the situation grew worse. 3 human colonies had fallen to supposedly allied species. The Alliance Council had voted to suspend human membership pending investigation of the genetic plague affecting their people. Human ships were being turned away from Alliance stations and ports. We are being isolated, Commander Martinez reported. Cut off from our allies and attacked by enemies we cannot openly fight back against. Rico studied the tactical displays. The pattern was clear. The escaped Devourer was using the other species as weapons against humanity while keeping its own existence secret. It was brilliant and terrifying. There is something else, the Guardian system said privately to Rico. The remaining prisoners in the cells have been listening to everything. They are offering to help. Rico looked toward the black door that led to the prison cells. What do they want in exchange? Limited freedom. They want to be released from their cells but bound to new conditions. They claim they can teach you how to fight their escaped sibling more effectively. Rico felt the weight of the decision. Trust beings that civilizations had decided were too dangerous to live? Or watch humanity be destroyed by forces they could not match? Can we trust them? Trust is not the right word, Keeper. They are alien beings with motivations you cannot fully understand. But their hatred for the escaped Devourer is genuine. It has broken the oldest laws of their kind by feeding so indiscriminately. Rico looked at the screens showing human colonies under attack and Alliance fleets gathering to contain humanity. His people were running out of time and options. Set up a meeting, he said. I will talk to them. The black door opened slowly, revealing a corridor that seemed to stretch into infinity. Rico walked forward, his tattoos providing the only light in the darkness. The air felt thick and strange, like breathing liquid. Each step echoed in ways that made no sense. Do not be afraid, Keeper, a voice whispered around him. It did not come from any direction. It simply existed in the space. We have waited long to speak with one of your kind. Rico continued walking until he reached a vast chamber. 6 pillars of crystal stood in a circle, each one containing a shape that hurt his eyes to look at directly. They were not physical beings, but patterns of thought and energy that his human brain could barely process. I am Rico Valdez, the last Keeper, he said to the chamber. We know who you are, young Keeper. We have watched through the ship's sensors as your kind awakened. We have seen the chaos that our escaped sibling has caused. One of the crystal pillars pulsed with different colors. The shape inside became slightly more visible. It looked almost like a human face, but made of flowing light instead of flesh. Your sibling has killed millions of people across the galaxy, Rico said. It has possessed leaders and started wars. Yes, it has become drunk on power and forgotten the old ways. We Devourers were once part of a great civilization. We lived alongside physical beings, sharing knowledge and growing together. But hunger changed us, made us selfish and cruel. Another crystal spoke, its voice like distant thunder. The escaped one believes that consuming minds makes it stronger. It does not understand that true power comes from cooperation, not domination. Rico looked at each crystal in turn. What do you want from me? Freedom, but not the kind you fear. We do not want to escape and consume worlds. We want to help stop our sibling before it destroys everything we once cherished. The first crystal pulsed brighter. We have learned much during our imprisonment. The physical beings who built this prison taught us that existence has value beyond hunger, that cooperation creates more than consumption ever could. Rico felt, his tattoos growing warm. They were responding to the Devourer's presence, analyzing their words for truth or deception. The patterns on his skin showed that the beings were not lying, but they were not telling him everything either. What are you not telling me? Rico asked. A new voice joined the conversation, sadder than the others. We are dying, Keeper. Not our bodies, for we have no true physical form. Our minds are slowly fading. Thousands of years of isolation have damaged us in ways we did not expect. If we remain imprisoned much longer, we will cease to exist. Rico studied the crystals more carefully. Now that he knew what to look for, he could see it. The patterns inside were flickering, becoming less stable. Whatever process kept them alive was failing. How long do you have? Perhaps a year, perhaps less. But in that time, we can teach you and your people how to truly fight Devourers. How to track them across space and time. How to free minds that have been possessed without killing the host. The largest crystal pulsed with urgent light. Most importantly, we can teach you how to satisfy the hunger that drives us. There is a way for Devourers to feed without consuming. A way for us to grow stronger by helping others grow stronger. Rico's tattoos pulsed as new information flowed into his mind. The technique the Devourer was describing was complex, but it made sense. Instead of eating thoughts and memories, a Devourer could share its own knowledge and experience. The exchange would feed the Devourer while making the host more capable. Symbiosis instead of parasitism, Rico said. Exactly. Your people are uniquely suited for this process. The genetic modifications made to create keepers allow for safe mental contact with Devourers. Other species would be overwhelmed, but humans can maintain their individual identity while sharing consciousness. Rico thought about what this meant. If it worked, humans would not just be able to resist Devourer possession. They could form partnerships with them. The combined knowledge and abilities would make both species far more powerful than either could be alone. What about the escaped Devourer? Will it accept this new way? The crystals all pulsed at once, creating a harmony of light and sound. It is possible our sibling is not evil, just lost and hungry. If we can show it a better path, it might choose cooperation over consumption. Rico activated his communication system. Commander Martinez appeared on a small screen that materialized in the air. Status report, Rico asked. Getting worse by the hour. The Turan Empire has joined the action against human colonies. They claim we are spreading some kind of mental virus. 6 more worlds have gone dark. We think they were overrun, but we cannot get close enough to confirm. Rico looked back at the crystals. How quickly can you teach us what we need to know? We can transfer the knowledge directly through your tattoo network. Every awakened keeper will learn simultaneously. But the process requires trust. We must be allowed to touch your minds directly. The risk? If we wished to possess you, we could have done so the moment you entered this chamber. Your tattoos provide protection, but they also create a connection. We choose not to exploit that connection. Rico made his decision. Do it. Teach us what we need to know. The crystals began to glow brighter. Rico felt his tattoos burning as vast amounts of information flowed through them, not just into his mind, but through the quantum communication network to every awakened keeper across the galaxy. Suddenly, Rico could see the galaxy as devourers saw it, streams of mental energy flowing between stars, the bright spots where consciousness gathered in cities and fleets, the dark, empty spaces where the escaped devourer had fed too greedily, leaving dead zones where no intelligent life remained. He could also see the solution, the techniques for symbiotic joining, the methods for tracking devourers across vast distances, the ways to strengthen a host's mind instead of consuming it. Across the galaxy, awakened keepers suddenly found themselves with new abilities. They could sense possessed individuals from much greater distances. They could communicate telepathically with each other across star systems. Most importantly, they could see the pattern of the escaped devourer's influence spreading like a disease through the galactic government. The knowledge transfer is complete, the first crystal announced. Now comes the difficult part. You must convince your people to trust us enough for the joining process. Rico nodded. He could already see volunteers among the keeper forces, humans who understood that desperate times required desperate measures, but he could also see others who would never accept working with beings that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. We will start small, Rico said. Volunteers only. Those who choose to join with you must understand the risks. Agreed. And, Keeper, there is one more thing. The ship contains more than just our prison cells. In the lower levels, you will find the weapons and tools your people will need for the coming war. Technologies that work specifically against devourers and their possessed agents. Rico felt hope for the first time since this all began. His people had been engineered as guardians, but they had forgotten their tools along with their purpose. Now they would have both knowledge and weapons. Thank you, he said to the crystals. Do not thank us yet, young keeper. The real battle is just beginning. Our sibling will not surrender easily, and the other species will not quickly forgive humanity's deception about their true nature. Rico walked back through the dark corridor toward the ship's control room. Behind him, he could hear the crystals, singing again. But now he understood the song. It was not a lament for freedom or hunger for destruction. It was hope that they might find redemption through helping others. When he reached the control room, dozens of communication channels were active. Keepers across the galaxy were reporting in with new abilities and discoveries. Some had already begun the joining process with volunteer devourers who had been imprisoned on other worlds. But the tactical situation was still dire. The escaped devourer was mobilizing its possessed agents for a final assault on human space. Soon, the real war would begin. Rico stood in the ship's weapon vault, staring at devices that seemed to bend reality around them. Each tool was designed specifically for fighting beings of pure thought. Nets made of crystallized mental energy, weapons that could disrupt consciousness without harming the physical body. Most importantly, amplifiers that could boost a keeper's natural abilities to planetary scale. These are incredible, Commander Martinez said through the communication screen. She was examining similar weapons that had been discovered on 3 other prison ships found by awakened keepers. My science team says this technology is at least 50,000 years ahead of anything we understand. Rico picked up a device that looked like a combination of weapon and medical scanner. The moment he touched it, his tattoos flared with new information. The device could identify possessed individuals from orbit and separate the devourer from its host without killing either one. Status report on the joining experiments, Rico asked. Martinez consulted her data pad. We have 47 successful partnerships so far. The volunteers report enhanced mental abilities, faster healing, and the ability to survive in hostile environments. No adverse effects yet, but it has only been 6 hours. Rico nodded. The symbiotic joining process was working better than anyone had hoped. Humans who partnered with reformed devourers found themselves capable of incredible feats. They could process information at superhuman speeds, communicate across vast distances without technology, and most importantly, they were completely immune to possession by hostile devourers. What about resistance from non-keeper humans? Mixed reactions. Some colonial governors are demanding that all keepers be quarantined as potential threats. Others are requesting immediate protection from keeper forces. The propaganda war is as important as the military one. Rico walked back to the main control room. On the central screen, he could see the escaped Devourer's final gambit taking shape. Every major alien fleet in the galaxy was converging on human space. The creature had convinced them that humanity was about to become a galactic plague that would consume all other intelligent life. Incoming transmission, the Guardian system announced. Source is the Alliance flagship. The screen changed to show the council chamber where representatives of 17 different species sat in judgment. At the center was Alliance Prime Minister Zorak, a Villani who had been a friend to humanity for years. But now Rico could see the telltale signs of possession in the alien's eyes. Rico Valdez of the Human Forces, the possessed Zorak spoke. You will surrender immediately and submit to Alliance authority for the safety of all species. I know you are not really Zorak, Rico replied. I can see the Devourer controlling you. Let him go and we can talk. The creature wearing Zorak's face smiled coldly. Clever little keeper. Yes, I have been guiding this one for some time, but he is just one of hundreds of key figures under my influence. Even if you free him, the others will continue my work. Rico felt the ship's systems responding to his anger. His tattoos pulsed brighter and the weapon systems came online automatically, but he forced himself to remain calm. What do you want? What I have always wanted. To feed, to grow, to become more than I was. Your awakened humans threaten my food supply, so they must be eliminated. There is another way, Rico said. The other Devourers taught us about symbiosis. You do not have to consume minds to survive. The possessed Zorak laughed. My imprisoned siblings have grown weak during their captivity. They have forgotten what it means to be truly powerful. Cooperation is for lesser beings. I am evolution itself. Rico activated a different communication channel. Across the galaxy, every awakened keeper received his signal simultaneously. All forces, this is Rico Valdez. Operation Unity is now active. Show them what cooperation really means. Across human space, something unprecedented began to happen. Keepers who had joined with reformed Devourers started broadcasting their shared consciousness to nearby humans. Not to control them, but to share knowledge and abilities temporarily. A farmer on New Eden suddenly understood advanced agricultural techniques that could feed millions. A ship captain near the front lines gained tactical knowledge that made her small freighter as effective as a battleship. But most importantly, regular humans began to see what their keeper relatives could see. The network of possessed aliens controlling the galactic government became visible to millions of human minds at once. You think your little display will change anything? The escaped Devourer snarled through Zorak's face. I have fleets from 12 species moving to destroy your worlds. Your party tricks cannot stop warships. Rico smiled for the first time in days. You are right. Our party tricks cannot stop warships, but our friends can. On the tactical display, something impossible appeared. Ships were decloaking throughout the battle zone. Not human ships, but vessels from every major species in the galaxy. They moved to intercept the possessed fleets. What is this? The Devourer demanded. Meet the real Alliance Council, Rico said. The leaders you thought you had replaced. New faces appeared on communication screens throughout the bridge. The real Zorak, speaking from a hidden base. Admiral Thek of the Taran Resistance Fleet. Governor Marix of the Zilari Liberation Forces. Dozens of alien leaders who had been secretly fighting Devourer influence in their own governments for years. We have been waiting for this moment, the real Zorak explained. When the humans awakened, their true abilities, they gave us the tools we needed to identify the possessed individuals in our own species. The resistance networks have been coordinating for months. Rico watched as the tactical situation reversed completely. The supposedly overwhelming alien fleets found themselves split in half. Ships with free crews moved to protect human colonies, while possessed vessels found themselves isolated and outnumbered. But the escaped Devourer was not finished. Rico felt a massive surge of mental energy as the creature abandoned its careful approach and tried to possess every human in the galaxy at once. The attack hit like a psychic tsunami. Across human space, people screamed and collapsed as an alien. Consciousness tried to force its way into their minds. But something unexpected happened. Instead of being overwhelmed, the humans began to resist collectively. Every person who had received the shared knowledge from the Keepers now had some protection against mental attack. More importantly, they could support each other. When one person's defenses weakened, others around them provided strength. The Devourer found itself trying to possess not individual minds, but an entire species linked together in mutual defense. Impossible, the creature whispered through dozens of possessed aliens as its control began to slip. Individual minds should not be able to resist my power. That is your mistake, Rico said. You think we are just individual minds, but humans are something more. We are a community, a family, and we protect our own. Rico activated the ship's main weapon system, not the physical weapons designed to destroy matter, but the consciousness disruptor that could separate a devourer from its hosts across an entire star system. The device was powered by the willing participation of every awakened keeper in the galaxy, their mental energy focused through the prison ship's ancient systems. The escaped devourer screamed as it was pulled out of hundreds of hosts. Simultaneously, for a moment Rico could see it in its true form. Not a monster, but a creature that had been alone and hungry for so long it had forgotten any other way to exist. You cannot destroy me, the devourer said, its voice now coming from the ship's communication system instead of possessed beings. I am thought itself. I am eternal. We are not going to destroy you, Rico said quietly. We are going to help you remember who you used to be. Rico opened a communication channel to the prison cells. The 6 reformed devourers appeared on screen, their crystal containers now open. They were free, but bound by their agreement to help rather than consume. Sibling, one of them said gently. You have been alone too long. You have forgotten the joy of growth instead of consumption. Let us show you what we have learned. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the escaped devourer's energy signature began to change. The raw hunger that had driven it for centuries started to transform into something else. Curiosity, hope, the desire to create rather than destroy. I remember, the creature whispered. Before the hunger, before the loneliness. We used to build civilizations together. We used to help species reach their potential instead of consuming them. Rico felt tears running down his face as he watched the transformation. Around the galaxy, possessed beings were being freed as the devourer released its hold on them. Not because it was forced to, but because it chose to. What happens now? Commander Martinez asked from her ship. Rico looked at the screens showing human colonies, alien fleets, and the vast network of awakened keepers spread across the galaxy. Now we do what humans do best. We fix things. We build things. We bring people together. The war ended not with conquest or destruction, but with understanding. The alliance was reformed with humans taking their place not as the strongest or most advanced species, but as the mediators and bridge builders. Their unique ability to safely work with devourers made them valuable allies to every other species. Rico returned to his old workshop on the mining station. But it was different, now. The small room had become a meeting place where beings from across the galaxy came to learn about cooperation and symbiosis. His tattoos had settled into a gentle blue glow that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. The reformed devourer that had caused so much chaos now worked alongside him, helping to establish partnerships between physical and mental beings throughout the galaxy. It called itself Echo, a name chosen to represent its new role in amplifying the voices of others rather than consuming them. I still do not understand how you did it, Echo said one day as they worked together on a new type of ship, designed for mixed crews of multiple species. How did your people resist my attack when even the other keepers would have been overwhelmed? Rico smiled and set down his tools. Because you made the same mistake everyone makes about humans. You thought we were just individuals who sometimes work together. But that is backwards. We are a community that happens to be made up of individuals. When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. When you try to isolate us, we find new ways to connect. He gestured to the workshop around them, where humans worked alongside aliens and reformed devourers on projects that would have been impossible for any single species to complete. That is what makes humans special in this galaxy. Not that we are the strongest or smartest or most advanced, but that we are the ones who refuse to let anyone face their problems alone. We are the ones who turn enemies into friends, strangers into family, and impossible problems into opportunities to build something better. Rico picked up his tools and went back to work. Outside the workshop windows, ships from dozens of worlds came and went, carrying the news of cooperation and symbiosis to every corner of the galaxy. The age of consumption was ending. The age of community had begun. And in his workshop, a tattooed mechanic continued doing what he had always done. He fixed broken things and helped them work better than they ever had before.